Meet me at the Temple of Artemis. There we can discuss how to take down Podarkis.
This is going to be a long rebellion.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey has been officially unveiled at E3, and while the title might seem to suggest you'll be running around trying to stop a wedding by finding new and creative ways to use your hat, it's actually set in ancient Greece. And it looks pretty neat. There are lots of cool details to be found in the next Assassin's Creed game, in fact, so I thought we'd just pile straight in and look at 12 of them. Shall we? First things first, as always with Assassin's Creed, the historical setting is pretty cool. Set hundreds of years before Assassin's Creed Origins, Odyssey sees you play as a descendant of Leonidas, the world-famous shouty, kicky Spartan man, with the game itself taking place around 50 years after the famous Battle of Thermopylae. The game's backdrop is that Sparta and Athens are at war, and, with battles raging between the two sides, it's down to you to kill the usual slew of bad guys and, ultimately, decide which way the balance of war is going to tip. Now, if that's not a good setting for an Assassin's Creed game, I don't know what is. Apart from all the previous ones, I mean. To be honest, the historical settings have all been pretty cool so far. Second, and leading straight on from the historical setting, is that it looks really nice. Odyssey, as I'm sure you can see for yourself from this footage, is attempting much the same trick as Origins did, which is to say taking a scorching hot environment and breaking it up liberally with slashes of colour and crowds of people. The towns look varied, vibrant and interesting, with some period-specific buildings that not only look nice, but really let you know you're in ancient Greece. Assassin's Creed has always been good at recreating the aesthetics of its chosen time periods, of course, but it's still worth noting that the Greek armour, weapons, and especially the helmets, look really cool. And it'll be interesting to see how much variety there is among the gear you can get your hands on throughout Odyssey. The animation also seems to have improved somewhat for this latest Assassin's Creed game, especially the facial animation. Where before Assassin's Creed games could look a bit wooden, and while some of the body language still seems a bit clunky, there's no denying the cutscenes on offer in Odyssey seem a good deal more expressive than we've seen before. Which is certainly good news considering there are apparently something like 30 hours of cutscenes on offer should you want to do absolutely everything there is to do in this latest adventure. Now that is a lot of voice acting. Those 30 hours of cutscenes become even more impressive, in fact, when you consider the next cool thing about Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is to say you can choose who you play as. At the start of the game, you'll be given the choice of two characters, or rather two versions of the same character, as whichever one you pick, you'll be playing the same descendant of King Leonidas. Anyway, you can choose between the obnoxiously good-looking Alexios, a man, or the obnoxiously good-looking Cassandra, who is a woman. Playing as one gender or another is nothing new to Assassin's Creed, of course. 2015 Syndicate let you flip between Jacob and Evie Fry at will, but this is the first time you've been given a character choice that you then have to stick with for the rest of the playthrough. Whether this will encourage many people to play the game through twice, once as each character, remains to be seen, but either way, it's nice to be given the choice between the two. As you can see from this footage, we went with Cassandra when we first tried Assassin's Creed Odyssey, though we're going to get the chance to play again as Alexios fairly soon, so make sure you look out for that on the channel. Anyway, moving on to our next point, player choice is very much a running theme in Odyssey, over and above picking the gender of your protagonist. With this latest game pushing the series comfortably into full-blown RPG territory, there are lots of choices for you to make in the game, including dialogue options, a first for Assassin's Creed. Like plenty of other open-world RPGs, The Witcher probably being the most notable recent example, you often get the chance to pick how to respond to others, whether you treat them nicely or poorly for instance, or whether you probe for extra information that can help you prepare for the task ahead. The choices you make in these conversations, just like in real life, change how NPCs see you, and, accordingly, how they behave towards you. Whether that makes them hostile, for example, or just straight up frisky.
Relax, a moment together would be nice.
Either way, the dialogue wheels should open up some interesting avenues to explore in Odyssey, and they're just one of a number of indicators of Ubisoft's clear intention to make Assassin's Creed into a proper open-world RPG. If you want some more detail on exactly how they're doing that, we've got another video on just that topic, if you fancy it. Anyway, enough about dialogue wheels for the moment, let's talk pets. Following on from Senu, Bayek's faithful bird companion / reconnaissance drone in Assassin's Creed Origins, the latest game gives you another feathered friend with which to scout the surrounding area. This one is called Icarus, which you almost certainly don't need me to tell you is a very witty reference indeed. Just on the off chance that one flew over your head though, or maybe just to jog your memory, Icarus is a figure from Greek mythology, specifically the son of Daedalus, the architect of the infamous labyrinth of Crete. In an attempt to escape from Crete, Daedalus uses feathers and wax to craft a pair of wings for himself and his son, whom he warns against the evils of hubris. "Fly not too close to the sun," he warns Icarus, lest the wax of his wings be melted in the heat. Icarus, of course, gets one taste of flying and completely loses his head, flying too close to the sun and then plummeting into the sea, where he drowns, presumably feeling like a right ninny. Your friendly bird companion Icarus, in other words, is a very witty reference indeed for the classically minded among you, and perhaps the name is a deliberate choice in warning the player against overconfidence. After all, if you don't use Icarus to scout the area ahead of you, can you really be sure of the hardships you're going to face? Either way, I'm no ornithologist, but I am fairly certain birds of prey can't melt, so at least you don't have to worry about your bird friend's altitude too much. So Icarus takes care of things in the air, your parkour skills are enough to get you across the land, but what about going by sea? Well, fans of Assassin's Creed Black Flag and Rogue will be delighted to hear that ships are back. Yes, even with Ubisoft's swashbuckling multiplayer game Skull and Bones making an appearance at E3 this year, it seems there's still room in Assassin's Creed for a bit of good old-fashioned naval combat. You have a ship with a capable and deadly crew at your disposal in Odyssey, with ship-to-ship battles taking pride of place during these aquatic adventures. Personally, I'm delighted. I loved sailing the seas and sinking enemy vessels in Black Flag, so while I suspect ancient Greece doesn't have loads of sea shanties to offer, I'm still really excited to set sail and send my enemies into the briny deep. Talking of fighting, actually, the combat system in Odyssey has continued the work of its predecessor, Assassin's Creed Origins, in completely reworking the way hand-to-hand fights actually work. The bare bones are pretty much the same as in Origins, but now you have a whole host of special abilities to unlock and to map to specific buttons, as you can see in the corner of this footage here. These abilities are pretty varied, allowing you to think about how you want to approach most combat encounters and then plan accordingly. It gives you a proper crack at different character builds, in other words, which should be welcome knowledge to anyone hoping for a bit more depth to sink their teeth into when it comes to taking on their enemies. These combat abilities are put to especially good use in Odyssey in a series of impressive 300-person battles, as seen here. You'll remember that earlier on in this video I mentioned Athens and Sparta are at war during Odyssey. Well, during the course of the game, you get the chance to wade into this conflict and even decide which way it tilts, and these conflicts are borne out in large 150 versus 150 man fights. It's almost certainly not a coincidence that there are 300 people on the field in these sections, but either way it's pretty cool stuff and gives you ample opportunity to hone your skills and work out what sort of fighter you want to be. Next on this list of cool things about Assassin's Creed Odyssey is the fact it's willing to take risks, even if I suspect some elements of the community won't be thrilled about them. As I mentioned earlier, Odyssey is set centuries before the events of Origins, i.e. before the Assassin Order was actually founded. In other words, this is an Assassin's Creed game in which you're not actually playing as an assassin. And sure, we've seen other characters who aren't necessarily assassins at the start of the game, Edward Kenway for one, but that's a very different thing to setting a game in a period where the Order didn't exist at all. That's pretty bold for a series like this, and by necessity it brings with it a few changes. For example, you don't carry a hidden blade with you during Odyssey, because they haven't been invented yet. Instead, you carry the tip of Leonidas's spear. It functions in much the same way as the hidden blade, of course, allowing you to carry out assassinations both stealthy and showy, but the hidden blade is arguably Assassin's Creed's most recognisable element, and it's an important thing to long-term fans. Not having one in the game may prove unpopular with some of them, although it is worth noting you can definitely stick a hood on and keep it on in this game. There's no repeat of Syndicate's mistakes here, I am proud to report. And the final thing in our list of cool things in Assassin's Creed Odyssey is that you can fight an absolutely massive bear. Seriously. In one mission, hilariously called Grin and Bear It, a bear is terrorising the people of Delos, and it's up to you to track it down and stop it by killing it. As you can see from this footage, it's flipping huge. Honestly, I don't mind telling you, if I was given this quest in real life, I would not bother completing it. It seems like there are a number of legendary animals in Odyssey, so you can look forward to attempting some feats truly worthy of Greek mythology should you decide to pick the game up come October. And there you have it, 12 cool things in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I almost certainly missed a few though, so if there are any cool details you'd care to mention, the comments await you below. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, we have plenty more for you to watch. Some of them should be on screen now, but to be honest, we're putting up loads of videos over the course of E3, so you probably want to check in with the channel to make sure you haven't missed anything. To that end, you might also like to subscribe for plenty more from us, but most importantly, thank you very much for watching, and have a lovely day.